Hey everyone, hope you're having a good Monday, August 8th, 2 p.m. Eastern. We got some stuff to talk about. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We'll give people 30 seconds here to come on in. And then we'll talk about some fundamentals we got to keep an eye on this week, what the broader market is doing. There's been a lot of volatility and a lot to be watching in the stock market today. And so we'll be watching how that is potentially impacting crypto. Cayman Islands sounds nice. I'm definitely going to be upping my travel game. I pretty much don't travel much March to October, as that's my favorite time of the year here. But once winter comes around, I'm gone. Actually just booked a flight. North Carolina to Florida for $74. That's a deal. All right, let's get going. So we've got the NASDAQ here. And this is the futures chart. So essentially, let's zoom out for a minute. Wednesday, we got CPI numbers. That's the fundamental event for the week that everything is looking towards. So in my opinion, the market is anticipating lower CPI numbers, certainly than last month. Reason being, commodities and the drop in commodities prices over the last month plus have been giving us a little bit of a tell that inflation is cooling off a bit. So in my opinion, the market is pricing in some lower reading coming in on Wednesday. So I'm watching to see if that's going to be a sell the news event. The stronger the stock market is into CPI, the more likely it's going to be a sell the news event for me personally. But we're seeing a little bit of weakness today. Not much. We're fairly flat, but we did start very strong. So we gave back a lot of gains. Essentially, to summarize things, we've got risk on to start the morning. We had a ton of high risk, high reward names start really strong. AMC and all the Reddit names have been pumping the last couple of days. Cannabis names, CGC and TLRY, they're up 10 and 15%. We had psychedelic names start the day really strong as well. If you're interested in that sector, I put out a video over the weekend. So check our YouTube channel, psychedelic and cannabis sector video. And in my opinion, there's going to be significant opportunity in the psychedelic sector for FOMO, euphoria, blue sky breakout at some point in the coming year or two. So that's definitely a place that I'm going to be focused for that opportunity when it presents itself. One more note on tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, I'm going to be live streaming public here on this channel, the stock market open, so our pre-market setup, and then the stock market open to just show you essentially what our live streams are like for stock coverage on a daily basis. But we started the stock morning with risk on into weakness. So here's one of the psychedelic names, risk on, up 10%, and now heading back down and only up 2%. So a lot of profit taking on that initial morning risk on mindset. And right now the NASDAQ is testing the low of the day, potentially confirming a 30-minute bear flag. Every morning I've been heading into the stock market day saying, prove something to me, bears. And today they did, because all of our major sectors hit the low of the day at the same time. It was fairly brief, but it did happen. And that's the first time it's happened in weeks. So that gets my attention. And that has me exiting some bull positions and going a bit more risk off. Exiting some bull positions, entering some bear positions, and just shifting my perspective a little bit, because I've been saying to myself, the first time we see all of our major sectors, and I'm talking QQQ, financial sector XLF, healthcare sector XLV, S&P 500, SPY, I've been saying to myself, the first time I see that, because it hasn't happened in weeks, that's going to stand out very notable to me. And it happened today. And here's the NASDAQ hitting the low of the day right now. So a little bit of a shift is underway for stocks. And maybe it's just some profit taking. This is a rising wedge on the hourly. Maybe it's just some profit taking pre CPI numbers, but bulls are just looking a little tired, especially with this weakness today. And if you look at the S&P 500 futures chart, look at this 4 hour, it looks like a rising wedge. The bull breaks are lacking follow through, which is the trademark of what a rising wedge is. NASDAQ just hit a new low of the day. So bears are presenting themselves. If the S&P 500 were to hold this uptrend support line on the 4 hour time frame, we would remain within this potential rising wedge. But again, just keeping an eye out for that weekly consolidation, same as we are in the crypto space. And if we were to have a bearish CPI reaction, then that weekly consolidation is very likely underway. So NASDAQ bears proving something right now with that lower low. How is Bitcoin responding? Holding up a little bit better just because we haven't hit that new lower low yet, but keep an eye out for it to possibly do so and follow along. So Bitcoin bulls, crypto bulls showed up early this morning on the East Coast, 2, 3, 4 a.m. We got the bull move. So essentially crypto broke bull from a very boring weekend. Nothing was going on. Crypto broke bull. Growth names, high risk, high reward stocks had a real strong morning. And now since then, the shift has been underway with what looks to be profit taking and a bit of weakness. Again, SPY and QQQ right now, we're only down 0.2 and 0.5%. It's just where we came from. We came from strength and gave it all back. So Bitcoin is looking for a 4 hour higher low. We have our daily uptrend and resistance guides. We have not broken to the higher high yet over 24.7 thousand, which has to happen for bulls to have any confidence. But even if we do, that resistance level is there as well. So we have the 6 hour tightening range with bulls doing nothing over the weekend. Break bull. All right, so that's a good sign. Certainly better than a bear break. That NASDAQ new low of the day is lacking follow through. But Bitcoin has to break 24.7. The simple statement is if we don't break 24.7, we're not going to see much more upside from here. If we break 24.7, we get a bit more confidence. And in my opinion, altcoins would then benefit a bit more. The best case scenario for the crypto space right now would be for this dominance chart to continue its daily bounce with Bitcoin bulls leading the way up, hitting a new high over 24.7, ideally over 25,000 plus. And then that leading to a dominance daily lower high where we then see altcoins play catch up and get their leg up as, again, that confidence seeps out. Oftentimes, we see Bitcoin dominance go up briefly on Bitcoin strength, and then as Bitcoin consolidates sideways, the altcoin bulls play catch up. So keeping an eye out for that to be a possible setup here. But again, watching that broader stock market very closely and the CPI reaction very closely for any signs of potential weakness. And we got the Bitcoin divided by the NASDAQ. Again, just who's stronger, Bitcoin or stocks. And we're right back into the middle of this range. We were heading down towards the lows with relative weakness last week, but still range bound. And again, when we're range bound, it essentially means to me we're doing pretty much the same thing as the stock market right now to varying degrees of volatility, but roughly the same thing. Nothing notable until this range clearly breaks one direction or the other in terms of relative strength or weakness comparative to the broader market. So 4 hour, we're scouting a higher low. There are no red flags in this 4 hour chart right now for Bitcoin. After the bull break, the 4 hour RSI hits 70. Historically, this is where we've been topping out on this move up. Look at the 4 hour RSI, the entire bounce, and it's gotten up to 75 before topping out. 72, 72, 71s, 73, and just now 71. So that's in line with what we've been seeing. The question will be, is this a 4 hour bull flag? We're going to watch the retracement. And at the moment, it is a possible 4 hour bull flag. So the 4 hour consolidation on Bitcoin, there are no red flags right now. It's still healthy for me. And the 12 hour EMA 12 support is going to be catching up and come into play sometime in the next few candles. And essentially, we would need to lose the 4 hour uptrend from here for us to say, uh-oh, are we about to fail daily resistance and roll over into weekly consolidation? Because we did break the weekly inside bar bullish. So the burden is on bears to prove to us in both the stock market and in crypto to prove to us that weekly consolidation is shaping up. And so we're watching for signs of it. And there's nothing glaringly telling us, uh-oh, we're about to be bearish. There's the little initial clues, but nothing significant. And we're going to let the price trend be our guide. And as long as Bitcoin keeps setting 4-hour higher lows, then bulls keep that control. For me, the bull flag, it's the 382 retracement. And if you Google TheChartGuys, fib retracements, I go in depth into how I use the fib retracements to gauge continuation or equilibriums. But long story short, 382. And oftentimes you'll see by the time the price gets to that 382, it's right aligning with EMA 12 as well. So we know what Bitcoin's doing. It led the move up this morning and is now consolidating on the 4-hour time frame. Still healthy at this point, no major red flags. And looking at the altcoin space, we definitely have some leaders that are stronger than Bitcoin, but we don't often see on an all green day, we don't often see Bitcoin up near the top of this list. So again, what an altcoin bull wants to see is Bitcoin break 25,000, dominance chart going up on that break, dominance sets the daily lower high, altcoin bulls catch up. Because there are still rising wedges on a bunch of these altcoin charts, but as long as we keep holding those higher lows, we'll look at some of these rising wedges in just a moment. So Ethereum had a little bit of a confluence of resistance. We had the previous price of 1793. I was also watching this little 4-hour uptrend resistance line, which we did end up rejecting from. So just a little temporary top. Pull back on the 4 hours, certainly much more significant than Bitcoin, but it is still a 4-hour uptrend. And I would be watching, and this actually might be specific to Coinbase here. It is. So it's important to check around with other exchanges. So what does that mean? Why is that different? That just means that on Coinbase, somebody had someone either market sold a bunch or had a big stop loss trigger that market sold a bunch. So that's a lot. I mean, that's 6,000 coins, and that happened twice. So that's not just one order triggering. That's multiple orders. Looks like someone was selling 10,000 ETH into the bid with market orders that were absorbed, but that's a lot of dollar volume. Just roughly curious. $18 million. So I'm going to use Binance just to eliminate those wicks. And I can see that the 4-hour consolidation is very similar to Bitcoin at this point. And we need a 15-minute trend change back to the bulls for a 4-hour higher low to be set. Remember the last live stream to end last week? We were looking for a 4-hour higher low, and we were watching for a 15-minute falling wedge for it to potentially shape up. And then after we stopped the live stream, the 15-minute wedge broke bull. So again, if we're looking for a 4-hour higher low or lower high, it's the 15-minute time frame that can show us the details of that shaping up. And currently, on Bitcoin and Ethereum, we are in 15-minute downtrends, have to gain a 15-minute uptrend for the 4-hour higher low to attempt to shape up. So again, even Ethereum here, these bull breaks are still not seeing a whole lot of follow through. So is there a potential rising wedge still? I'd be putting resistance there. I'd be putting support here. And the answer is yes, it is still a potential rising wedge. Can the rising wedge break bull? Yes, it's possible. But knowing that we're looking for weekly consolidation to be the most likely scenario, we definitely have to be paying attention to rising wedges. And Ethereum is one of them. ETH BTC has this 15-minute, this 12-hour channel we've been watching for the last week. So this won't notably change anything until support breaks or resistance breaks, but resistance has come into play multiple times since we started watching it. So this is just a little visual guide as well. And again, if we don't break this resistance, the bull breaks are going to lack follow through. Can't go very far if you're going to top out at this resistance line. So bulls keeping their control, but definitely keeping an eye on some rising wedges that are developing in the crypto space. And these rising wedges can grind on for a while before an eventual break. Litecoin, so LTC, BTC, 12 hours getting nice and tight. This is a good one to be keeping an eye on depending on whichever direction it breaks. If it breaks bull, it'll be the bulls attempting the first weekly uptrend in a long time, in a couple years. If it breaks bear, that means Litecoin's going to go right back to being a lead bear to be looking at for weekly consolidation. So we can definitely be looking in both directions depending on how this is going to break. And remember, there were a handful of names we were watching on these weekly BTC pairings to try and confirm weekly uptrends. And you can see Litecoin is just sideways and getting really tight. Mana BTC was another one that was trying to get the weekly trend change going. Getting fairly close, but not breaking bull at this point. And ADA was another one we were watching. And it's probably the weakest of the bunch. Again, still keeping an eye on these names, but the longer we stay range bound, the less likely we are to break bull, in my opinion, just because, again, the longer we stay range bound, the more likely we are to see weekly consolidation shaping up. But LTC, BTC, I really like the clarity there just because it will be a lead bear if this tightening range breaks bear. So Mana is another one with a rising wedge. Yes, we broke daily resistance. It's a good sign for bulls, right? We're not going to complain. We're hitting higher highs. But we can complain about a lack of follow-through because that is what we're consistently seeing. Bull breaks that lack follow-through, which keep rising wedges in play as a possibility. 12-hour time frame for Mana. If we want to get these trend lines a little bit more clear. So to negate rising wedges, we have to see clear breaks with follow-through, clear bull volume. And in the absence of that, if a bull break goes straight into consolidation, the rising wedge remains on the table as a possibility. Ape is a possible rising wedge as well. So daily high or low is set at 710. That's a key level now. If we lose 710 from here, it'll be the first time that Ape has lost a daily high or low in the last 2 weeks. And that would confirm this rising wedge. So essentially, if we fail 780 and break 710, weekly consolidation will very likely be taking shape. And if we look at Ape BTC, we're right at a support line now. Needs to bounce off of that. Ape BTC is showing us relative weakness versus Ape USD. When did that change take place? Ape USDT solid green day today, and Ape BTC nowhere to be found. So essentially, today is when it's really glaringly standing out that the BTC pairing is showing us weakness. So what if we're looking bullish? If you're looking bullish, the only plays here are short-term higher lows. Like you could be looking for a 4-hour high or low on Ethereum or Bitcoin. You just got to respect those stops because the last thing you want to be doing is looking for a 4-hour high or low, not have a stop loss, and next thing you know, weekly consolidation is underway. So there is still potentially some bull trades out there. Obviously, how we started this week, there was some bull opportunity. Just be protective. And as far as bears are concerned, they're definitely scouting positions. They're definitely potentially establishing some positions. But same thing, we have to ensure that support levels break. So Ape, if I'm looking bearish on Ape USDT, if we're not going to break 710, then we're not going anywhere. The bulls are going to keep their control. It's a bare minimum. We must break 710 for bears to prove anything. So remain skeptical on both sides of things. And just remain protective. As I've mentioned, I'm not going to go aggressively bullish until weekly consolidation. I already know that. But I can take a bull trade every now and again, just looking for little short-term moves if it's just a couple percent, which is essentially how I'm approaching the space, just patiently waiting for that weekly consolidation whenever it takes place before I'm going to be looking to reestablish any bullish size at this point. And I am keeping an eye out for BITI, which is the bearish ETF for Bitcoin, but only if we see clear signs of weekly consolidation in crypto would I be interested in swing trading BITI to be able to have bear exposure in the crypto space. The miners still holding on well. Again, not much follow through on the bull break, but it is a higher low and higher high, so they're pretty much doing the same price action as what a lot of these altcoins are. Binance, close to seeing Binance BTC daily consolidation underway, which would just show us a little bit of a shift away from the relative strength of Binance that we've been seeing the last couple of weeks. Still a 4-hour uptrend on Binance, so no red flags there, but just keep an eye on Binance BTC because if the low of yesterday breaks, you can see this base of support here. If this breaks, perhaps with a 4-hour lower high and lower low, that would increase probability that Binance USDT is due for some daily consolidation as well. And we were keeping an eye on FTT to be a laggard, and it did see a nice bull move up over the last couple of days. Again, just because Binance is a lead bull, FTT in the same category as far as being an exchange, but it's got this rising wedge as well. I didn't touch this rising wedge since the last live stream on Friday. So here we are battling this resistance line. FTT BTC must break this range sideways. Nope, must break this range bullish if we're going to see that potential rising wedge break bull. BTC pairing here must break bull. We've been tightening up for 6 weeks. Keep an eye on this one. Because if the crypto space keeps confidence, I should say, if we keep this grinding higher lows, that's when we're going to look for charts like this to get a bull break and see some fast, hard moves. If I am looking bearish, again, the weaker names that I'm keeping focus on, GMT is one of them, just because we're nowhere near the bounce high. We're 20% below the bounce high right now. So if we look at the 2-day time frame, we're tightening up here and we're scouting a lower high, anything under 106. So we can say GMT is not positioned well for bulls if we're to see any daily consolidation in crypto from here. So just watching this tightening range, significant pullback from the morning spike. And again, if you go through the list of altcoins, where they stand compared to July 30th, the vast majority are clearly over that level, and GMT did not get close to breaking it. So that's another way to just visualize the relative weakness. Sol was another name we were keeping an eye on. For bears, if you go to the 2-day time frame here, anything under 46.65 will be a lower high. It has been a nice bounce for the bulls. We did see a nice recovery from that hack weakness, but we are still 10% under that resistance right now. 4-hour, looking for a higher low just like everybody else. And again, we're not going to expect these bear names to get any bear follow through if Bitcoin keeps grinding up and breaks 25,000. But if Bitcoin gives us red flags, these names are positioned a bit better for bears than names that are hitting higher highs. They are more range bound, there's more overhead resistance. The daily uptrend would be closer, or the 2-day higher lows would be closer to being lost. So these names are definitely still at the top of my list where if we see any Bitcoin weakness, then we look bearish on these names. So Bitcoin, a little bit of relative strength. The NASDAQ hit the lower low. Bitcoin has not. So trying to shape up that 4-hour higher low. Keeping an eye out for daily rising wedges on altcoins. The burden of proof is on bears, without a doubt. Crypto bears must prove to us that we have lost bull momentum and weekly consolidation is shaping up. And as long as we have a 4-hour uptrend, that's not on the table. So if Bitcoin were to lose the 4-hour uptrend from here, that's definitely a bit of a red flag. But if we set a 4-hour higher low and keep heading up towards our 24.7 bounce high, bulls are A-OK in the short term. Wednesday, CPI reaction, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, will bring volatility to the crypto space. So plan for that with your trades. whether that means tightening up some stop losses or however you plan for that, do so. Canadian cannabis still closing strong. We're still holding strong. I've got a little TLRY position from this morning. Got rid of my CGC add-on too soon. Should have kept half. So we're seeing strength maintained in some of our higher risk, higher reward names in the stock market. All right, I'm reading the chat room now. I've got about 10 to 15 minutes. How would I position if I were trying to enter long during this 4-hour consolidation? I'd be on the 15-minute time frame. And I would want to either be entering on 15-minute oversold conditions if we see another leg down, or if we see a bull break here, any entry that I make, then that's my stop. Because if that level breaks, that tells me you're wrong. That's not the 4-hour high or low. And there is more weakness here. So if we break 23.8 with a continued 15-minute downtrend, we look for 15-minute oversold conditions, potentially aligning with 4-hour EMA 12. NASDAQ still unable to get much bounce follow through. All right, what else you got? IMX BTC. So bulls must hold 48.19. If 48.19 is lost, we go from a daily uptrend to then a daily downtrend. And that would shape up weekly consolidation. Bulls are trying to confirm weekly follow through here. Must maintain those little daily higher lows for that to continue. How is AMTD Digital up 6,500%? It's just a short squeeze. Look at TLRY. I mean, there's a bunch of these names that people have run in the past. Big money just jumps on, whether it's an options gamma squeeze. But people that play this game professionally know what kind of money they need to put into what kind of plays for significant squeezes and follow through and all that. It has nothing to do with what the company is doing most of the time. XRP USDT. And it is another rising wedge. So we do have a little short term, pretty much daily EMA 12. I mean, look at how we've been grinding it for the last 6 days. So if we hold it, the bulls are just fine. They're going to keep that slow, steady grind up. If we lose it, we have to be cautious of a weekly inside bar breaking bear and rejecting from weekly EMA 12 resistance into weekly consolidation. So just use that little visual guide, a daily EMA 12. Bulls just need to keep holding that level. All right, just a couple more. The cannabis space is getting interesting again. CGC is trying to break the high of the day. So sand daily. So we had a low, a lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low. So we have a little bull break. So that's a good sign, but we've got to take out the other resistance levels as well. If we lose the 4-hour uptrend from here, it's a red flag. There's an uptrend resistance line on the 4-hour time frame we can be keeping an eye on here. This is more like a channel and not really a rising wedge. So let's go to the 2-day and see what the clarity is. So 2-day is still a tightening range right now. And if we do not break 143, it's possible that we set another 2-day lower high in a continued tightening range. So bulls need to maintain the 4-hour uptrend and then follow through over this resistance level of 143. Because if we lose the 4-hour uptrend from here, continued sideways tightening 2-day range is likely to continue. How often did I take trades in my first few years of trading? Good question. I don't remember. I was swing trading, so much less. Not nearly as often. Yeah, not even close. I mean, I'm day trading, scalping. Sometimes I'll have 30 trades in a day. So very different. I'll talk about SPY and semiconductors and all that in the end of the day market video. All right, I appreciate you all tuning in. Matic had a rising wedge somewhere. Nah, that's not really valid. I was keeping an eye on that, but not very clear. Same thing, it's grinding daily EMA 12 the last 6-7 days. Bulls just have to keep that up. If we lose it, weekly consolidation is much more likely. And we can just use the price level of 892. 892 is a must hold for short-term bulls to keep their control. Lose that level and things change. 100 likes would be nice. All right, I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure and tune in to the broader stock market video over the next couple of days because that's going to have implications in the cryptocurrency space. But overall, bulls are pleased with today, right? We started the morning real strong. We went up. Not a ton of follow through on bull breaks, but we're maintaining higher lows. We're maintaining within striking distance of resistance. Really what crypto bulls are watching at this point is the broader stock market forming a temporary top? And how is that going to impact the cryptocurrency space? But we will be looking for 4-hour higher lows to be the result of current consolidation on most names. Don't forget to do good things, and I'll see you live tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, if you want to check in on the stock market open.